Hello there. This is Sean and Carlbot. We are here to talk about the QnQ draft leagues now that the drafts are finished. Everybody say hi, Carl. Carl, say hi.
Hi.
Hey. We're being podcast bros for these draft leagues to try to bring some fun content. I think today this is like episode 0 where we want to talk about the drafts now that they've concluded, our thoughts on them, and we'll be putting them on a little tier list. And then I think as it goes on, we'll like maybe do some match recaps, maybe talk about some of our like favorite plays or sets of the week and whatnot. Anything you want to add, Carl? Anything you're looking forward to talking about?
I can't believe Sean talked me into going on a podcast. That's it.
I cashed in all of my social capital to get Carl Bot to podcast with me. All right. Well, we're gonna start with Draft League A, which overall vibes to me is there's some scarier teams here comparatively. I don't know how you felt kind of looking, but I feel like come playoffs, this is probably the dominant side.
Yeah, that checked out to me as well. I didn't keep like the sharpest tabs on like every team during the draft process, but I definitely felt like this side was the one like look like from like an outside perspective, like drafting harder and like
Yeah,
every team just looked a lot more like scary from an
I agree. I
like
agree
thinking about prepping for them.
for
Yeah.
sure. Well, getting right into it, we've got the Vancouver Valiants, captained by Square. What are your initial thoughts here, looking at this team?
Um, I'll admit I'm not quite as experienced uh like judging these as you might be, but
Mm-hmm.
I think it looks pretty solid. They've got pretty strong support options in like I think Amoongus and like Grimmsnarl are really like solid overall,
Yeah.
and I like the inclusion of Galvantula as well, like just for like speed control,
Mm-hmm. I think
as like a low cost option. Sorry,
no, you're
I
totally
should.
totally fine.
I am. My awkward pauses are catching up to me.
You're fine.
I blanked and then I remembered what I needed to say too late. Anyway, what are your thoughts?
I think I think Dragapult with redirection is like famously good, especially in VGC.
Yeah,
Amoongus is obviously a menace. I do think Amoongus loses a lot of value when you know you're playing against it, so everybody brings their Amoongus checks, right? Like, it's like draft levels
you,
are cool when you don't have to have a safety goggles on, you don't
yeah,
have to have taunt, you don't have to have Terra Grass. So like you can kind of bring your power level up, but then you play against an Amoongus and you're immediately prepping on what to do against Amoongus.
yeah.
So I do think that lowers Amoongus's value a little bit. I think a minor
I
concern I have of this team is there's a lot of support options in Amoongus Grimmsnarl, but I don't fully see what they support outside of a Dragapult, and a Dragapult can be kind of one-dimensional if you're using it offensively, right?
Yeah, that's fair enough. Like, I definitely think the rest of the team's options are a little like for like offensive power a little bit on like the weaker side.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think like things like I feel like Dragapult is one dimensional, and the problem is that a lot of the other like potential things that they have for breaking like a Quaquaval or Skeletor's potentially would just feel. Those are also incredibly like one-dimensional seeming
Yes,
Pokemon to me as well.
I agree. Yeah, I think I also think like Dragapult loses a lot of value when you don't, because like in a closed team sheets environment, it's like, oh, this could be like Thunder Wave supportive Dragapult, this could be offensive Dragapult, this could be special Dragapult. And I think when I look in the context of this team, I know exactly what the Dragapult's going to be doing. And that lowers its like X factor a little bit. One thing that I do want to point out on this, and I think I'll talk about it when we get to Draft League B as well, is I low-key think Scyther at 3 points is so good. If you keep up with the VGC scene, Scyther actually like has quite a few random placements. With like Swords Dance, Dual Wing Beat. Like, it's honestly really not bad at all. And I do think it's one of the more viable like secondary carries here, which I find really interesting.
Yeah, that I have not. I wasn't aware of Slicer's results, but that's incredibly cool, and I think that does make it a solid like low point mon in that case. Three for that is insane. Then
Yeah, I really like it. My like ending points on this team are I really worry about it going against Sun, which if I remember correctly, when we get to Dorm, like is a Sun team. Like I don't know what this does against Sun other than folds. Um, so that's a bit concerning in terms of like the matchups within. But we can hop over to our tier list here where we can introduce our tiers. At the top tier, we've got Queenly, Queerly even, named after the Draft League's namesake. Second tier, we've got 8 Minimal Crumbs, so great team, maybe just a few holes, but nothing too bad. Let Them Cook, maybe we have some questions, but maybe they're cooking up something that we don't even know about. And then Early Merge Boot is like, we're happy you made it here, but we're not sold yet. We're thinking you might be going out early. You might not make playoffs. Where do you think the Vancouver Valiants fall on this?
I'm between 8 and Let Them Cook. I'm very borderline on this. I feel like I could see it being in either tier, but
I am honestly I'm between Let Them Cook and Early Merge Boot, so I think we settle them out here to Let Them Cook.
Yeah.
And I think that's very fitting because yeah, you know what? Let them cook. All right, hopping over to the San Diego Raging Bolts, captained by Dorm, who I might be wrong, but I think he's the first-time drafter, or at least first-time VGC drafter for sure.
He's played draft leagues before. I don't know about VGC, but I definitely know. When I was like playing Snack with him, he was like, "Carl, help me build."
All that being said, I low-key, I kind of think he put it together. Like, Blood Moon Farig is famously broken as hell in VGC. It's really good. And it's also like a core to a lot of Reg H teams. Like, you just throw Blood Moon Farig on a team. Torkoal Jumpluff is an insane duo. If you're not prepared for it, it can catch you on a lead and you can just lose. I do think Metagross is overpriced. I think it's at 14. However,
it is. Yeah, that's.
However,
definitely a little too much, I think.
Paired with Clear Body, Spicy Extract, Scovalion, like that's low-key cool as hell, and it's like honestly not that hard to pull off.
That does look fun, honestly. I don't. I think this is like solid. Like, it looks like a really good like first few picks. Like going into like semi room somewhat.
Mm-hmm.
Is what I'm reading out of it.
Yeah, I think like
I do like.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I do like that Torkoal could realistically either be like a potential like Trick Room Sweeper or just or like setting in support for things like Jumpluff and Scoville in here, I guess.
No, yeah, I think that's really cool because like in VGC typically when you see Torkoal with Jumpluff, the Torkoal actually goes usually like a slightly more supportive set. Like it usually gets Helping Hand and Overheat. So it's kind of deadly in close team sheets where like you could lead Torkoal Jumpluff, you're focusing on not getting sleep powdered by this Jumpluff, and then suddenly it's like Terrifier, Choice Specs, Eruption, Torkoal that you ignored.
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely a like a really smart pick to like put like Torkoal in between like these two archetypes where you could realistically use it for either.
Hmm. Yeah, I think the first three picks of this are really, really strong. Like, just a terrifying Trick Room team. I will say, I don't think the support for reliably setting Trick Room is necessarily there. Like, you usually want a fake out user, like a fake out pivoter, like Incineroar. And I
Yeah.
don't necessarily think Hisui and Sneasel is gonna pull that weight for you. Um, so I could see like actually setting Trick Room being a potential issue here in terms of like what helps Purring set that Trick Room if it just gets
Yeah.
focused.
I, yeah, I feel like it could get like potentially like uh railroaded into something in into like potentially having to run something like mental herb
Yeah,
or something that lets it like get that up easier, which is definitely not optimal, but I feel like it's a concern, but I don't think it's too big of a concern overall.
yeah, I agree. All right. Where are we throwing the San Diego Raging Bolts on this lovely tier list?
I keep trying to not read it. One second. I think I'm borderline between the first two tiers in this one. I have to think about this.
I'm gonna lean towards eight minimal crumbs. I'm gonna be a little cautious, just because I
Yeah.
know what's coming later, and I do think there's some tier one teams that have nearly no flaws. Um, are you at peace with eight minimal crumbs, or do you want to make a strong case for queenly queerly even?
I think I think assuming this is something we could like reevaluate later, I'm fine with like keeping it in eight minimal crumbs.
Okay, yeah, we'll see what the competition looks like in that tier later. Oops, spoilers. All right, all right, moving on. We've got Brett, who I do believe did half of his drunk or half of his draft intoxicated. Um,
Uh, half
ha-
of his drunk.
half of his drunk. Oh, and then his team is the Philadelphia Swirlixers. Forgot to shout that out. I think it's an insanely strong opening. Rillaboom Sneasler is crazy. I think getting King Gambit on a fourth pick to sit next to them to discourage Intimidate is insane. And then the rest of this, I don't know. I don't know about the rest of it.
Yeah.
What are your
I,
thoughts?
I think that. Hmm. I definitely think there's a good like obviously like Rillaboom Sneasler is really good and really like annoying to deal with. Absolutely, I do. I don't. Yeah, I don't really know as much about the rest of everything else besides King Gambit. I do feel like I don't know if this is like a weird thing to say, but it does feel like a very like singles oriented like
Mm-hmm.
grassy terrain kind of build around in which I don't really know if any of the support things like Hydrapple or Comfey are quite as effective in this format.
Yeah. I mean, there's the cool thing of uh, floral healing being what is it like doubled in grassy terrain, which is
Yeah.
easier to pull off in doubles, right? Because you can lead the Rillaboom and the Comfy. The question is like I'm not sure what you're supporting here. Like I guess King Gambit, um, but I don't see any like bulky setup sweeper who really appreciates that support from Comfy. Um, but I guess
Yeah.
you could also go for like a setup Comfy. But
I I mean, hmm, I guess I guess it's like a consideration if like Grassy Seed Sneasler is bulky enough
That's
to be
true. That's
supported by
true. Yeah.
something.
Cursed to say. Yeah, I don't know. The team also has a lot of pronounced weaknesses. It has a pronounced ice weakness. It has a pronounced poison weakness. Kind of a pronounced fire weakness. And it's like you've got the checks for it. Actually, I don't even know if you've got the checks for the fire weakness issue, but I don't. I think it. I'm worried that this team might feel a bit clunky in practice. But it's certainly.
I feel like it's also low-key got a flying weakness too, I think.
Yeah, no, it does. It's interesting. I think there's like some X factors, like Hisuian Zoroark, concealing itself as King Gambit is a thing that got vaguely thrown around in VGC in Reg H to eat a fighting titan.
I definitely,
that's interesting.
I definitely think there's like potential for like Hisuian Zoroark or King Gambit or like Hydrapple or Sneasler with like Comfey support to like take a game. maybe we see Swords Dance Rillaboom at some point.
Oh, that could be really cool. I would love that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's definitely an interesting team that like would definitely catch someone like off guard, but it also just feels like there are going to be a lot of difficulties building with this team to deal with everything else that the other teams are throwing at it.
Yep. All right. I'm gonna be the bad guy. I think when we're looking at the rest of the field, I think this might fall into early merge boot. I
would need to say the same. Like I applaud the team for like having like all these potential like ways to like take home upsets, but I feel like at the end of the day they are still upsets. Like I don't think this team is going into most matchups with an advantage.
Yeah, I would agree with you there for sure. We'll see. Maybe there's some stuff that comes around later that is much worse. But I think with the field right now, it's a little one-dimensional. Going into possibly one-dimensional but really, really cool teams. We've got the Scotch drinking Scolipede, captained by Aury.
Oh boy, it's a Parish Trap team.
Go ahead, take it away. What do you think about this?
It's the Parish Trap team, all right. It's very. I don't know what to say. It's got a lot of. It's got like some pretty solid mons for like the planet wants. Like I think like if they're gonna go like all in on this, having like things like Incident Clefairy to keep your team alive is pretty solid.
Mm-hmm.
I like obviously the name of the game here is Shadow Tag Goss setting up a Parish song and then like waiting it out.
Yeah.
But like I do think the core is decent enough to where it doesn't necessarily have to play towards that end.
Mm-hmm.
Although it does feel like a little lacking offensively in some aspects apart from that. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. It's obviously Parish Trap. You have 3 Parish song users, which I do think is cool. So like there's flexibility around which Parish song user you bring, which could create some interesting change ups. I honestly think Incineroar Primarina is such an absurdly flexible first 2 picks that like I could see this team functioning with an offense mode of like Incin Prima Glim +1.
Yeah.
It's definitely lower on the offensive power, but I think there is like potential for setup sweepers where like that's where you need to get your power in more like balance oriented teams like this, right? Where like Primarina could be spamming Calm Mind. Glamora gets something. I don't know.
Hmm.
I
I
also
feel like
think
this team would have. Sorry.
uh,
You finished your thought.
just like final is I honestly think like I actually haven't seen Glamora on Parish Trap teams, and I low-key think it's like genius. Like, because it's so cool. Because it's like you could still play the stall game by getting those toxic spikes out without actually having to commit to Parish Trap. So it allows these like bulky defensive mons to still play their game even if you can't get a Parish song off, and I do think that's really interesting.
Yeah, I do think that's a definitely interesting, like like alternative like way to like not have to fully lean into Parish Trap. Uh, I think my hang up is that I do feel like the points could have been potentially better used to grab like a better grass to make like the instant prim core solid,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't think Leavani really cuts it in that regard.
Definitely not. No. No, I think that is a great point. Is like I do think this team would be improved pretty drastically by like a really solid Grassmon just to round out that core. Like even a Thwacky, right? Where like that grassy terrain can help you play that stall game, but then still support like a Primarina who wants to set up or something like that. I do think also this team could have
Yeah.
been serviced by like a really strong, slow Trick Room sweeper, just to enable that mode as well with like the Gothitelle.
Yeah. I honestly, I feel like I have a little bit of like difficulty evaluating this team because it is like definitely like there's a little bit of flexibility, but it also does very much feel like it's leaning heavily into its archetype, which to be fair,
Mm-hmm.
it does have the tools for, but I am like generally a little critical of like broadcasting what your intentions are in in a draft format, I suppose.
No, I think that's absolutely fair. It definitely I think out of all the teams here, this is the one where you probably know what it's gonna do. And that definitely is valuable when you're trying to, prep for a draft match. If you know that you're walking into something, you can better prepare for it. All right, this one's tough for me. Um, when I read the actual names of the tiers, I am leaning towards let them cook.
Yeah, I feel like this is a very let them cook kind of team.
I think so too. I think like here's the thing. Parish Trap is so hard to execute, and it's so hard to play against if someone knows how to execute it well. So if Aury comes in and they know how to play Parish Trap and people don't know how to play against it, this is a queenly, queerly even team. But I think that needs to be proven, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm just glad you're not giving them the merge boot here.
No, absolutely not. I think the first half of this draft is too successful. It is doing what it wants to get a merch boot. At least this team has a direction, a vision, a game plan, you know? Oh, speaking of teams with clear directions and
Oh boy.
apparently sprites not loading. I'm gonna hit a quick refresh on this. Damn, we're in purgatory. Okay, well we can look at it here for the time being. Yeah, teams with a very clear direction. Notably, really funny is Hivy was in the draft chat talking about how they were going to do something crazy and fun and funny and like unexpected. Oh, let's see. And then they drafted Ndidi Armarouche on the first rounds of drafts. So that's extremely funny to me. Okay, we'll look at it here. Who knows what's going on there?
Hmm.
So, go ahead. What are you thinking here? What's your relationship with Psy Spam?
I don't honestly I don't have a lot to say about it. It is definitely heavy size spam. I admittedly don't have much experience with it in doubles to say, but I do think at least the first like 5 picks do feel like they're all like at least somewhat contributing to the plan
Mm-hmm.
that it's that Hivy is going for with the Indeedee armor score. I, I definitely think I think the low tier picks are interesting in this one. It's definitely like pretty like pricey-ish low tier picks, and I'm interested to see if any of them get brought or pan out.
Yeah. I think it would definitely be so easy to bring the exact same four to every match that Ivy plays.
Yeah.
Um, so it is going to be interesting to see if these bottom half picks actually get any use. I definitely don't think
Yeah.
any of these bottom picks are necessarily helping with the pronounced dark weakness and the pronounced fire weakness that Side Spam just like has innately.
Yeah.
I will say, if you are not familiar with Side Spam, like if you're not like a VGC player specifically, you will lose to it. Like I know professional Pokemon players who frequently make day two, who still do not know their Side Spam matchups and like struggle against it, just because its flowchart is that strong. Like it's that good if you don't know what you're doing
Yeah.
into it. So I could absolutely see this getting some free wins.
Yeah, I think that's definitely like pretty much on the dot. Like if you're not if you're not prepared, you're going to like get swept by our Indeedee Armorage.
Yep. I love Halucha Indeedee as the budget Indeedee Sneasler. I think that's really cool. And I was also talking about this in draft chat. I think Gallade is criminal. I believe it costs 12. Yeah. I think
That's
Gallade
oh
in this lower power format is crazy. Like so
yeah, I think
strong. I think
that's
12 is so cheap for it. So I think that
yeah.
was like a really killer pickup to be able to get here.
I haven't seen much like of what Gallade can actually do, but like my knowledge of it is that just I feel like people like to this day probably underestimate the effectiveness of sharpness, and I feel like it might bite them.
Yep. Especially where in VGC, this thing always has to bring Clear Amulet so that it can still threaten an Incineroar Oko with Sacred Sword. And in draft, if you look at your opponent and they don't have an Intimidate on, you can use Life Orb instead. And now you have a Life Orb Sharpness Gallade in Psychic Terrain pressing Psycho Cut. Like, you're going to die. Like it will kill something.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool. I will say I don't necessarily know what Mousehold does here, nor what its purpose is when you have an Indeedee already. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
it can,
that's
it can pop bomb you, it can do that, but like, I feel like I don't know if that's a role that needs to be served on this team. So it's kind of a pricey investment for something that I'm not completely sure was completely needed. But overall,
I mean
it is a size band team put together, and that has to be respected.
I definitely think it's uh I definitely think Mousehold is a little bit like um awkward here. I feel like I'm not sure like how much experience Hivy has in like VGC versus singles, because I definitely feel like Mousehold is more of a singles side terrain Pokemon than like a doubles one. But I do think it could definitely still like potentially put in work, just because I mean like I guess like at the end of the day you could still just run like pop bomb without being like uh faked out.
Mhm.
So that's still solid, I suppose.
I think Mousehold, in my opinion, in this draft could be a first pick. Mousehold in doubles is repulsive because especially in a closed team sheet, it can go Technician, Pop Bomb. It gets friend guard follow me, so that's stupid. It can beat up and annihilate. It can beat up an Archaludon. Like it has so many options that like I think it's terrifying and absolutely a flexible first pick in a VGC draft. But I don't know if anything that it does is needed on this team. Is kind of where I'm at with it, and I think it's pretty expensive. Yeah, it costs 18. So I do think that's a really big investment in a mon whose I don't see its immediate value. All right.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Where would you rank this one?
I think I'm at 8 minimal crumbs, but like high in there, right? Where it's like it is size spam, but I think there's some points that could have been allotted more efficiently that would have brought it up to Queenly Queerly even.
I think that's definitely fair. Yeah, I concur with that.
Where are they? Am I blind? Oh, there we go. I didn't say hi to team. I'm so sorry. It is the San Francisco Tabloves. All right.
Yay.
I won't forget this name. We've got the Silage City Carbinks, captained by Totter.
Oh, if we needed another like team that has a
another
very immediate
archetype.
archetype.
Well, you know what? And I'll lead off on this one. I think this is arguably the most horrifying raid team you could put together in a VGC Reg H draft. Like these first 4 picks, I'm low-key packing it up. Like I don't think it matters what you picked after this. I'm so serious.
Yeah, this is a absolutely like being faced against this. Like, if I'm told like, hey, you have a VGC draft, prep for this. Give me my brown underwear.
Yeah, for real. I mean, the obvious critique, right, is this is front-loaded. The first 4 picks are objectively incredible and expensive, and then everything that comes after it is kind of scraps and a little confusing. But honestly, like, once I get these first 4 picks, I don't think it matters that much. Like,
I think it's fine, because, like, the next 6 picks are obviously just, like, I spent all my money on these first 4 picks.
Yeah. I
think it's fairly forgivable.
Mm-hmm.
I do kind of see, like, some of the vision with, like, I guess, like, a Toxicroak on this as, like, a budget option, I suppose,
mm-hmm.
with Dry Skin and Fake Out to support the team better.
Yeah.
I don't think it's, like, a bad pick. I do think some of these are a little, like, questionable near the end, but I also don't think, at this point, that, like, I don't think Camerupt and Carbink are coming to games.
No, I don't.
So
I don't think they're ever coming.
Yeah.
And, like, I even like Jolteon as, like, a pretty affordable, fast Electro-Rev user with Volt Absorb for your Pelipper, your Basculegion. Like, I honestly think that's a pretty smart pick. It's going to outspeed most things. Like, does Jolteon suck? Yeah. But can you throw a Focus Sash on it, give it Electro Web, and sit it next to Pelipper Basculegion? Yeah. And I think that's, like, there's merit to that, you know? I love the Toxicroak. I'm really interested to see. You could argue that's a little bit overcommitted to Rain. But, like, why not? If I have this Rain team, yeah, I'm playing Rain every single round. That's okay. Like, you have to respect that. I don't have to respect it.
I definitely feel like the Jolteon was, like, making the best of, like, a bad situation, because I could very much, like, the pick before it is Raichu. I very much think that's probably what Totter wanted here.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I don't have much else to say about it. I think these first 4 picks are so egregious that they were even permitted that I would throw this in Queenly Queerly even.
Yeah, this is definitely Queenly Queerly even. I concur.
Love that. Obviously, its quote-unquote pronounced weakness is you know what it's going to do, but I'm so scared of what I know it's going to do that I don't think it matters.
I mean, you can know something is going to wipe the floor, but that doesn't stop it
Yep.
from wiping the floor at times.
Exactly. All right, getting into the Galarian Zigzagooch, captained by yours truly, gnocchi. Go ahead, take us away here. What are your initial thoughts?
What do you mean, mind truly?
He was the man. He was the man who did what I couldn't and earned your loyalty and undying trust. So I think you should go and speak to him.
I tried to kill him and it failed, for the record. But yeah, um, I think this is definitely. I feel like the name of the game here definitely seems like flexibility. There's a lot of like solid options. I do like. I do like that it seems to be largely based around like supporting Annihilate and like has a lot of solid support tools for that.
Mm-hmm.
With like potential Veil support, Intimidate support, Grassy Terrain support. Everything feels like pretty based around keeping Annihilate afloat here. And I do think that's a decent build around. Although I don't know how effective the rest of the picks are when it feels like a lot of the game plan is hinging so hard on just like boosting and then like landing the hardest rage fist you've ever seen.
Yeah, I'm in a similar place where, for the record, Annihilate is, to me, the most infuriating Reg Age Pokemon in existence. I hate playing against it, and I think Annihilate A-Tails specifically is so impossible to play against sometimes. So, like, I think those first two picks are so strong, especially when we've seen a lot of weather already. Like, having a weather option on command is just really nice. I think Aurora Veil is repulsive, and then you put it next to Annihilate, throw like a citrus berry on it, and it presses bulk up once behind Aurora Veil, and like suddenly, what are you doing? Um, I've
Yeah.
always hated it. I do think it's really hard to extract value out of some of these like mid-cost picks.
Yeah. I feel like it's a there's an attempt at like a good like fire water grass core somewhere around the middle, but I feel like a lot of like I feel like Gyarados and Arboliva specifically just feel catered to keeping Annihilate alive more than like providing their own value to the team, I guess.
Yeah,
Not that that isn't value, not that like having an Annihilate boost itself up to infinity isn't like great value, but it is pretty like one dimensional in that regard too, I think.
I agree. I would really like to see like some really solid like assault vest user who like doesn't need setup and like is comfortable to just kind of come out and do his thing. See like in assault vest like King Gambit. Not that that could have been afforded on this draft, but that's like the kind of archetype I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Just because like I do think this team is so required for like ape to like set up and get going that if someone else has a strategy where they just don't have to hit the ape and they can disrespect it like pressing bulk up or something like that, that can get a little scary. Or like a team that's really like specially forward with like just really good spread moves. Because at least you typically in Reg H, Annihilate is there pressing bulk up, so it's really defensively solid. And its biggest weakness is just like spread special moves, which I don't think this draft lacks. With
Yeah.
all the expanding forces and all the heat waves and the eruptions and the those kind of things.
Yeah. I will say I don't particularly love this team's general lack of redirection.
Yeah,
I think is one of my bigger criticisms with it. The only thing it really has is like uh the like ally switch Girafarig, which I don't think is great.
definitely not.
Yeah.
I think the Geezing, the Galarian Wheezing coming out at the very end is really potentially interesting. Because I think not a lot of these mons benefit from their abilities after like their initial use. So like I do think there is some interesting X factor in being able to like potentially choke out where like an ape is already set up slightly, and then you throw a
Yeah.
Giesing out and they can't change the snow or something like that. Like I think there's something interesting there.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think it's a solid pick, although I do think there's a little bit of risk there in that I don't think you ever really do want to lose Defiant, because that makes it a lot easier to deal with Ape at times.
True. Yeah. It's definitely interesting. I think I think I'm interested to see what it does. I do believe that Ape Ninetales is fully capable of 2v4ing a lot of Reg H teams. So I can never count it out completely. But I think your call to say you're running a setup mon, you usually want a fake out, a redirection, or two fake outs. And this team does not have either of those, which is definitely a little
Yes.
concerning. And then in terms of speed control, you're relying on like Icy Wind A-Tails, which you typically don't want to run, or like Thunder Wave Gyarados, which has a ton of counterplay, obviously.
I mean, it does have Raichu, which would be solid like 8 regs ago, but like,
Yeah,
I don't think it's that great of a fake outer at this point. It does a job, but I don't think it's anything spectacular.
I
I
think
would probably
yeah.
give this team a let them cook, honestly. Maybe 8, depending on how strong you think uh the Veil Ape has the potential to be here.
I think I think I'm gonna go ahead and be cautious and hit it with a let them cook in the sense that I think there was more room for optimization in the back half of this draft. Like, do I think A-Tails Ape is strong enough to be here or even here? Yeah. But I do feel like we could have made some even better picks. And because of that, we have to say let them cook because we do. I do need to see them cook with this back half of the draft here. What is going to go on here, you know?
Yeah.
Many questions. All right, rounding out Division A. Oh my god, these first three picks. We've got the New
Oh my god.
Orleans Neuburns, captained by Hayes.
I feel this is very much crazy first 3 picks.
Yeah,
I feel if it was in if it was in the like pool, I you could like if it was in the pool, like you could put Qian Pao on this and it would just look like a regular team.
for
I
real.
think.
My first note on this is these first three picks should be punishable by death. Um, this is a Reg H team. Those first three picks, that is a Reg
Yes.
H core that is used often. You've got the fantasy core, you've got, the Steel Fairy Dragon. Goldango is just crazy because it just doesn't gaff. Don't worry about
Yeah,
status. You can run
go go.
a million different like items on it. You can Terra whatever you want. Like it's so insanely flexible. And then that next to the threat of like a Tailwind Whimsicott, like what are we doing? I'm so scared.
I think. Yeah, I think that's really like just an insane core, and Dragonite also is a really good third pick to like back it up.
Yeah.
Honestly,
It's it's really I think D Knight in closed team sheets draft is horrifying because it's another mon that can do a million different things. Like you don't know if it's Terra normal choice band E speed or if it's like Tailwind scale shot haze. Like there's a lot it can do, and I think like it's just the first three picks are just like such a solid core that like I don't even know if what came after it matters all that much. But I do think there's some interesting stuff there. I actually really think Assault Vest Berserker is like obscenely cheap. I think it costs like was it like 4 to 6 or something like that. It costs 4.
or
I think that's
wow,
criminal. I think it is criminally inexpensive. Such a good mod. It gets fake out. Like it's just a great AV user. I will say, I think there is again, and I feel like I've been saying it a lot, a pronounced fire weakness. And I don't think
fair
Minjar is
enough.
necessarily the answer to that. But
I feel like some of these mid cost picks could have been potentially dropped to get Electabuzz instead of Electivire, which I feel like would have been better for like this team potentially.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that for sure, yeah. I think
Yeah.
it matters a little less where in VGC a lot of times with Electabuzz, you want it for Vital Spirit so that you can eat sleeps and you can eat stuff like that. And Dango just doesn't care about status anyways.
Yeah.
So I think it matters like slightly less, but if I remember correctly, the point difference between them is so minuscule that it probably almost always is just worth getting the extra bulk with the Electabuzz.
It is 5 points here, which is
Okay.
a decent amount.
Yeah.
But I definitely feel like options like I feel like some of the like between like Sneasel, Cyclizar, and Mini, or a few of them probably could have been dropped for other options to get you to that point.
Mm-hmm.
Or I guess maybe like Kinkeldor for something else, but I do think Kinkeldor is like a decent pick.
I think Kinkeldor's really cool as like okay, I have a Tailwind, like a super strong Tailwind user. What if I just get a Mon that's so slow that even in Tailwind it's still underspeeding stuff in Trick Room, and I just throw that out just in case. Like it's kind of how like people use Iron Hands when Iron Hands is around. I feel like it fills a similar purpose. I think it's super interesting. I definitely do think there's like obviously there was maybe room for more optimization, but the thing that comes after the horrifying first 3 picks.
Yeah.
I guess.
But I feel like again that's an insane first 3 picks to like get away with. Although I guess that is like reasonable, like given it's the wheel pick, like you do kind of just get to like make out like a bandit with whatever falls into your lap.
Yeah, you get to start with Dango Whimsy and just like cheer, like be full of whimsy and joy. I definitely would have personally really liked to see a water type anywhere here. Specifically like a water type with fake out or something like that with some kind of supportive capabilities. Or even like a Tauros Aqua, I think would have been awesome to support like a nasty plot setup Dango. But I mean, like overall, I think the first 3 picks are like so vile that like it's hard to not put it in anywhere in the top 2 tiers for me.
I mean, I don't know enough about VGC to say like that a particular way or the other, but I do feel like it is definitely like on a surface level just really solid. I would put it in like Queenly Queerly, but that's honestly up to you. I'm leaning that, but I think I could see it being at the top of 8 minimal crumbs. It is very borderline to me.
I think I would drop it here in the sense that I feel like I know 3 out of 4 of your mons that are coming. And like Whimsy is an easier mon to plan around typically, right? Like you kind of know what it's going to do. And sometimes with Whimsy, it can find itself at a place where it's like it doesn't do anything if the opponents have just kind of elected into a mode that doesn't care about Tailwind or Encore or things like that.
I do think that's fair enough. Although I feel like this thing is that like 2 of the other 3 things that are coming in like Goldengo and Dragonite,
Right.
You can know they're coming, but you're never gonna know like what they're coming with.
Yeah, what are you doing against them? We'll see. I think there's a chance that power scaling changes when we get to the division B here, and perhaps some things squeeze up into here.
Yeah.
But I think like walking away from draft A, I mean, I do look at Totter and I do think Totter has the most successful draft. And it's like to me, it is like the one team where I look at where I'm like, damn, that like I do think he got everything he wanted, except probably Raichu.
Yeah. Definitely wanted Raichu over Jolteon, but like you can't have them all, I guess.
Yeah, and honestly, a fine substitution to pull for it. So I'm okay with this for now. We'll see when we get into League B here, which is, I mean, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. So We'll
That
see how.
that
We'll
is.
see if this shifts up at all.
You say interesting like a slur.
I do. I do. It's this to me reads much more like a oh like draft is like for fun like silly combos and things like that. So I think we get to talk about some fun silly combos. Um, Starting off with Dicy with the last pick Goldango on a sand team. I don't even know if you could call it a sand team. But um,
Why was Goldango allowed to fall that far? First off,
I don't know. It's like I. It is so funny to me to just like bank 20 points to the last pick and just like be chill with whatever 20 cost is left. I think that's a very interesting strategy implemented by the Sacramento Score Bunny, captained by Dicy here. I think it's an interesting sand team. I'm not completely sold on it. I will say,
I feel like there definitely could have been better like sand support for this. I think.
mhm,
I don't think a lot of the mons in the mid draft really do anything for sand like particularly well.
I do agree. I think T-Tar at 15, if I remember correctly, that's what it costs. Yeah, I think T-Tar at 15 is low-key a crime. I do think that's like absurdly cheap for that mon. So like, I think there's like logic to say that like Dicey wasn't even building sand until like the very last like Lichen Rock pickup as just like a quick, something to
Yeah.
pair with it. Because I do think T-Tar can just stand on its own as like
Yeah,
a
I
crazy
think that's
flexible mon.
fair, but I feel like you like with like some of the early picks, there's definitely not like really taking advantage of like the mon still in the pool as much as you could have.
Yeah,
Like,
like what is Trev's second pick? Like what is that?
yeah,
what
and I
is
feel
this
like
thing?
yeah, I don't really know what like things like. I feel like Trev. I don't really know if Melodic does anything, and I think Raichu and Hitmontop are here to support, like as like decent support, but like there isn't that much to support in my opinion until like the later picks.
Yeah, it's like it is interesting though because like if I swap this Goldango and this Trevenant, like visually, I'm like okay, woo, scary. But yeah, it's like I don't know if this is the best setup team for Goldango. I don't know if its partners cover Goldango's weaknesses. Um, it's it's definitely interesting. It does feel a little like it feels like a little vibes based, vibes based like
Yeah.
for fun picks. Melodic is interesting to me because like to me in VGC, Melodic exists as a really strong competitive user whose typically like sole job is to counter Incineroar in a format where there's only one Incineroar, and I don't even think it got drafted in
Yeah.
this division. Um, and then it's like, okay, so I guess like it can be a competitive user to sit next to T-Tar, but I don't know what it does while it's there necessarily.
It did not get drafted.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a little interesting. Your Firewater Grass Core being Trevenant Melodic Rotom Heat is crazy work.
Yeah. I do also think again like there is a big flaw in the lack of any redirection on this team as well. Like Trevenant is ally switch, I guess. Like yay. Like second pick redirection, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
It could benefit from that for sure.
Yeah, ally switch is not my definition of a reliable redirection move, but
No. I think this team is absolutely lacking a lot of inner team synergy outside of like the obvious like T-Tar Lycanroc duo. Other than that, there's
yeah.
nothing where I'd like look at two of these and I'm like, okay, they really complement each other. Except like maybe Hitmontop Goldingo, but that's pushing it, you know?
Yeah.
It's interesting. Where are you at on this one? What do you think for the Sacramento Score
Hmm.
Bunny?
I I'm gonna be honest. I'm considering early merge boot. I just think ultimately I feel like um Titar and Goldango always come take up slots, and I feel like the rest of the team doesn't really have enough overall power to compensate for the fact that two of the slots are inherently always taken
Mhm.
in this draft. I think
Yeah, I think I'm there with
that's where I
you. I
sit
think
on it.
there's two power picks, but they're honestly two power picks that like do want certain kinds of support, and I don't necessarily think that's there. So I'm at peace. I'm at peace dropping that down there for now. Prove us wrong. Like, feel free, you know? Alright, moving on, we've got the poorly drawn Porygons, captained by Willow. I think this is a really, really, really interesting draft. I actually really like it. I think it's a very spooky Trick Room Sun team. I've seen Hisui and Typhlosion doing absolute numbers in the draft of this that I'm running in a separate server. I think it's kind of horrifying and really, like, honestly, like, it seems easy to check, but then it isn't. I think Torkoal Venusaur is actually, like, really horrifying.
Yeah.
Really, really strong. I think Hatterene is interesting without her girlfriend in Didi. I don't think I've ever seen single Hatterene. Um, so that's like kind of an interesting concept. And then I also do think like Porygon 2, just disgusting. A disgusting mon
Yeah.
that like getting to use P2 Torkoal Hatterene as like a backup mode to like your very fast Sun mode is really cool.
Yeah, I do like a lot of this semi-room setup on this team, and I do think there's definitely really good just being able to flip on a dime between just spamming chlorophyll Venusaur and probably Specs Typhlosion and just pivoting hard into turning turning into Trick Room is just really solid.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do. I honestly think um I I don't love the lack of fake out or redirection. I think Flamigo is like a decent pick to
Mm-hmm.
it does have quick guard and wide guard, which is not terrible, but I do think that's definitely not I do think it suffers in that slot probably would have been better devote that slot or Grafai would have been better devoted to having your own fake out or other disruption instead of preemptively protecting against your opponent being able to do it for free.
I definitely agree. I think Grafai could have been dropped for a fake out or a redirection user, um, especially like when you have Trick Room and like that's like if you really want to enable a Trick Room mode on your team, you pair a bulky Trick Room setter with either fake out or redirection to make it happen. So I definitely do think that is a glaring weakness of this team, and especially when like you have something like H Typhlosion, which you're probably giving choice specs to, like being able to like in an endgame scenario fake out the sucker punch user is huge, for like that kind of scenario. So I do definitely agree. Does Minun get fake out? I actually don't know.
I I don't believe it does. I, low key behind the scenes I've just straight up been um uh taking taking these mons and throwing them into a draft preparation doc. I have to check what moves they actually have
Oh,
so I can
sick.
keep up.
Yeah, I checked. It looks like a little guy who should get fake out, but he does not get fake out. So
Yeah, no. I mean, I guess everything that looks like Raichu looks like it should get fake out, but doesn't.
yeah, there's also the big what does this do into rain question mark. Um,
Yeah.
like an energy ball from like a Venusaur outside of the sun is like probably not enough to check a lot of water types, a lot of rain based teams. Um,
Yeah.
kind of in general is what does this team do if like Torkoal is checked? generally, you know?
Yeah, I feel like this is a lot like I think the big thing here is that I feel like this is definitely like a team that struggles a lot if like Rain is like unset by anything really.
Yeah.
That's my main hang up with it.
I think also, like, if I was drafting against this, I see that you have. If I'm looking at the mons that are gonna, like, I'm worried about doing damage here, 5 of them are special. Torkoal, Typhlosion, Venusaur, Hatterene, Porygon 2 to an extent. I'm not particularly worried about Ampharos. And if I was, Ampharos is another special mon. Like, I could just bring like
Yeah.
an AV user with Snarl and like tank tank your
I
initial
don't think
and then spam Snarl, and I just feel like I'm fine.
Yeah, I don't think Flamigo or Grafai really like do that much to like pressure offensively on the physical side.
Yeah, I think that's like a definite weakness, and like Flamigo's not carrying the weight of your sole physical attacker, you know? Like,
I think Flamigo is just here for like the Venusaur to use growth and then it takes Co-Star. I think
true,
that's what it's trying to do.
it could do that. All right,
like Co-Star is funny, but I don't really know if it works in this. I don't really know if like setup on Venusaur works as well in this as it, to be like worth dedicating a
I would
slot
say
to
any turn you're
Flamigo.
trying to growth, you should probably just be pressing a sleep powder, like,
Yeah.
and hope it hits.
Yeah.
All right. When we were first talking, I won't lie. I'm so sorry. Well, I got lower on this draft the more we talked about it. Because I do just kind of think it's really one-dimensional, but I don't know.
I think at worst it's like let them cook. I don't think
Yeah.
this is low enough to be early merge pair.
No, I think it does have a pronounced job, and it has the things to do that job. So I don't think it's falling into early merge group.
Yeah, I think it's like very like solid, but like especially comparatively to the Sun team in League A, it's definitely got less outs and it definitely feels a little easier to prep for, I would say.
All right. Speaking of the Sun team in League A and B, let's talk about the Rain team. The Sydney Sharpedos, captained by Kiara. Definitely less scary than Totter's Rain team, in my opinion. My note says Rain, but weirder. I personally think in draft, I think Pelipper is a million times stronger than Politoed. Personally, I think like I really like it. Obviously, I think like Arch just in general is disgusting. But I don't think Indeedee is Arch's ideal support, and I don't think Politoed is Arch's ideal rain setter. Is kind of where I'm at, where I think we're possibly losing some threat of Arch.
I feel like my thing is that you really should be like, if you're using like Indeedee, you really should be trying to get like Pelipper, I suppose, because Pelipper is like probably works better with the potential to like set up Quick Room and like go off, I think. Like Politoed isn't fast, but it's like fast enough to where it's like a little more annoying to implement.
And I think like a big aspect of like Pelipper on the offensive side is like Hurricane is so threatening to your grass types who come in to resist both your water type move, but also Archaludon's Electro Shot. Like that's what makes that duo so lethal to me is the fact that you cannot ignore Pelipper, otherwise it's spamming Hurricane and confusing you, and you cannot ignore Archaludon because it's Electro Shotting. Whereas I look at this and I do think I can ignore Politoed. Like I'm not super worried about it.
Yeah, I do feel like this is another team that definitely special backloaded. So like something with like an Assault Vest Snarl would like go really, really well into this team.
I think also this is a team where Archaludon has to carry all of the weight. Like, it's like, okay, if I like classify supports versus carries, right? I think this team has 8 out of 10 supports.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Doug Trio is really out here carrying. I think Doug Trio is here to have Arena Trap. Or to have, Arena Trap.
Yeah. Which is a bit odd to me to draft both it and, like, Gothorita, I think, but I feel like one of those slots could have definitely gone better into, like, something that works better in Rain. I'm not, like, totally sold on Kingdra, but I think Kingdra's, like, alright enough in this to where I'm not, like repulsed by it.
Yeah, I suppose it's modeled after, like, presumably the famous Reg H Wolfie Rain Parish team. And that's why we chose Polytoad over Pelipper is for Parish Song. It's just I
Yeah.
don't think this team has the survivability to pull off Parish in the Rain because like Parish in the Rain is really really centered on Amoonguss specifically being able to pollen puff its allies, being able to redirect, having Regenerator. I don't think this team is bulky enough for that. I'm interested to see if we get like a really bulky like Giga Drain Rain Dish Ludicolo or something.
Yeah, I went to see when Amoonguss got picked, and then I found out that Amoonguss didn't get picked. I now
Exactly.
think this team should have had Amoonguss.
Like I think you throw like honestly our Chaladon in replace this Indeedee with Amoonguss, and I move it up an entire tier. Which exchanges are still up, so maybe I shouldn't be saying all that. But yeah, I think it is so our Chaladon front loaded, and then I don't think your Parish mode is strong enough for me to have to like worry about detracting from any of my Archaladon checks, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's I definitely agree with that. As for the tier list, I don't. I think I'm really heavily considering whether or not I put it in like Let Them Cook or early merge boot. I'm leaning early merge boot.
Kiara, I love you, but I just think like what we were going for could have been executed better within a movie. Like I think there's too many choices that are just slightly suboptimal, and ultimately, I think the team is easy-ish to prep against.
It's definitely a unique like concept, and I'm really hoping that like something out here like surprises and like
Yeah,
takes home or like pulls way above its weight. But like as of right now, I'm struggling to see the vision. Sadly.
I agree. Great color scheme though. Page looks great. All right, moving on to the Galactic Goldangos, noticeably missing Goldango, captained by Treb. Um, I'll let you start off on this one. What are your thoughts?
I like. I think I really like the first four picks. Honestly, I think it's a like. I think first pick D Knight is reasonable, and I do think like the next three are just a really solid core. Honestly, that's where I stand so far.
I'm low key really high on this draft. I really
Yeah.
like it. I think Sinishta Snorlax has potential to like obliterate stuff if it's not properly checked. I think the Firewater Grass Core put together here is like really affordable, really versatile, and just like really strong. I think Dragonite is broken, and like period. Um, this is a team where I would look at it normally and tell you that it's Incineroar week, but Incineroar's not here, so like who cares? And like, and I think that's huge. Is like. Like normally I'd be like, ooh, like Sinistcha gets knocked off by a Incin, Snorlax gets a Tim cycled by an Incin, Primarina gets outsped and parting shot by an Incin, Excadrill you have to run clear Amon, but like Incineroar's not here, so like I think that's huge.
Incineroar isn't real. It
I think
can't
that's a
code.
big deal. Like oh,
I,
text.
I think fire like the fire Tauros is like would be like all right if it had to deal with it, to where wouldn't call it a serious knock. But I guess like the only big weakness of the team isn't in anyone's pool, so like who cares?
Exactly. And if it is in one person's pool, then you get to prep for it and you're fine.
Yeah.
Um, I think this team has a really cool trick room mode that's set by like an Eviolite Duosion or Sinistra. Um, like honestly, just like
Yeah.
Sinistra like rage powdering a Snorlax while it belly drums, and then like setting up Trick Room on the same turn. Like I think it's honestly really flexible. I think it's really cool. It's one of my favorite drafts out of the 16, honestly.
Yeah. I think like again, like what you said about Sicer, it going and
Yep.
being able to pick it up that late is also neat too.
And I hope Belly Bolt goes crazy. I hope like I hope Belly Bolt does some crazy shit with like Hospitality Finish and like or even like Parabolic charging next to an Excadrill. Like I just think there's a lot of combos here that are like cool, but it's all backed up to me by a really like flexible Firewater
Yeah.
Grass Core, and then a D Knight who can play any role that you need in this team.
Yeah, I think it's just got a really solid core. Like Snorlax and Excadrill are good backup mons, and even all like the low tier picks I could theoretically see being brought to one game or another.
Yep, I agree.
I'm yeah. I am tempted to just give this one Queenly clearly even
I
like
want
right
to.
now.
I think even if it's not on paper the like objectively strongest, right? Like there's only quote unquote one like super power pick here. I think this has so much power and flexibility that like it's hard to
Yeah.
prep for, and that makes it queenly queerly even to me.
Yeah, I do fully acknowledge that there is a risk I could be biased because we did have to like go through the rest of draft B before getting here.
Right.
Like I'm sorry. I love you all. Thank you so much for like signing up for this and participating, and we're really glad to have you. But we are
Exactly.
going to be a little bit critical of some of your teams,
We have to
unfortunately.
for content. Is how you make storylines. If we're shit talking you here, then you get to prove us wrong, and then you have a storyline, and we'll eat dirt later.
I love dirt.
A huge dirt
Okay,
storm.
anyway, where were we?
We are now at the Portland Pancham, captained by Phoebe. Um, I like a lot of this actually. I think Rilla Halucha is super cool. The three Intin picks back is a little questionable, but I honestly think Crocodile is like Loki a really slept on mon. I think it costs 11.
It costs 11, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's like kind of a steal. And I actually think it has a lot of good matchups like in specifically this division, this league. Um, I think Magmortar is like a brilliant follow me pick. In the sense that like it doesn't have to do
Yeah.
that. Like heat wave spam is really threatening. It can go overheat. Like it gets other stuff.
I,
Um, what are your thoughts?
I don't I feel like almost like everything here, like throughout the draft, you could tell it's very much designed to like have mons that function a lot better in grassy terrain, and it
Mhm.
really like shows like with pretty much all the picks, I think. That's something I really appreciate about this team.
Yeah, I do think that's cool. I think potentially. I don't know. I want to be like Dragapult could be supported better, but honestly, not really. You have two follow me users. Um, you've got fake outs. Like you've got choices. So like I don't. I guess I don't even know what else I would really want for Pult. Um, there's like just looking at it, there's like something missing, but I can't really tell you what it
Yeah,
is, which is interesting.
I don't. Yeah, I guess I think if I had a hang up, I feel like I feel like the team looks like it relies somewhat on like I feel like it's a lot of like the picks feel like they also want to have like Tinkaton to like carry some of the weight, but I don't know if Tinkaton is capable of doing as much as this team kind of feels like it might need it to
Yeah.
do.
I think maybe that's where I agree. Where I feel like there's a lot of versatile support, but I guess I don't see what's super taking advantage of that. I think this team has to run like special pull theoretically, which is a little less ideal. Um, I don't know. It's like it's really hard for me to put my finger on it, but it is just like it is just missing something. Maybe it's like another
Yeah.
power pick. Like I think Rillaboom at
I
19 is so expensive. Like if this had like Sneasler instead of Halucha, which I know it was either taken or you can't afford, so that's not even really a critique. But like then I
yeah.
would look at it and I'd be like, okay, like I see it.
Yeah, I feel like it's not exact. I feel like Sneasler is definitely a better user of like grassy terrain because you do actually get to take advantage of the other benefit of terrain besides like I mean Halucha doesn't really get any benefit from like grassy terrain specifically outside of like activating its seed, but
Yeah.
Sneeze I feel like Sneasler does do it better, but I don't really think Halucha's a bad pick either.
Mm-hmm.
I do think the like redirection has a little bit to be desired because like I think Magmortar's a solid pick, but yeah, I don't know about Pachirisu that early either.
Yeah, I do think like we could have like Magmortared fourth here, and then maybe combined some of our funds to get like just like a solid water type, which I feel like I say for a lot of these that don't have a water type. But like coming from the
Yeah,
world of VGC and Reg H, like water is just really good. Like it's just a really good
yeah.
type, and I
I don't
mean,
really know if Quillfish is gonna carry its weight here as like the water to
oh
like
yeah, I'm just not counting
potentially
it.
complete the card, but yeah. So I think it's just kind of like there. I don't. I think there's a little bit of room for improvement, but I still do think it's overall really solid.
Yeah. I think we have the benefit of foresight here in that Phoebe has already played their week one match against Willow, and I would look at this team and I would say, damn, it does really hate, like, it really hates Sun. And I suppose Willow did prove that correctly. I do also think
Yeah.
maybe something that's missing for me is, like, speed control options. Um, I don't even. I'm assuming Halucha gets Tailwind, but that seems like not ever a move you would want to put on it. Um, so I
I'll
mean,
have to double check that. It doesn't. I
wow,
think
that's crazy.
actually no, it does not.
Then yeah, like I guess like because I could see like something like maybe like a choice specs pull supported by like a Tailwind mode here is like nice.
Yeah, like the only things you have are like the last two things that do Icy Wind and Pachirisu for Electro Weapon. None of those are like really what you want to bring here,
Yeah.
I guess.
So yeah, my overall conclusion with it is like I do think it's really solid. It is missing something that I'm kind of incapable of putting my exact finger on, which is not helpful, and I apologize. But I
Yeah,
don't think it's bad. I don't think it's early merge boot material at all.
yeah.
I would go
I
let
think
them
it.
cook, or maybe
Yeah, I
even
would say it's
CP at
let them
eight.
cook. Yeah.
Okay,
I
I'm
don't
with
know.
you
I
for
don't
that.
think it's on 8 minimal chromes care. It's like
Yeah, I agree.
it's just I think wanting for a little bit in pretty much every category, and that just adds up.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. All right. Moving forward to Psy with the Pittsburgh Penmons, our only in the entire league out of 16 people, our only thing not themed on a Pokemon, our only mascot that is not a Pokemon. Um, that's a fun little
Yeah.
factoid. All right. I think something
Oh,
immediately to point out about this team is that it got rebuilt. There was 5 exchanges before the first match has been played. Um, so I think that's really interesting and possibly could point towards what the team wants to do. What are your thoughts here?
thinking I'm still not quite sure what to make of this team. I think there's definitely some like solid like speed control options. I do think like Salamence is pretty like cheap and flexible, honestly.
Mhm.
Although I don't know if like cheap is what you really want out of your like pick from the top of the pool, but I do think it's a solid mon. And I do
I
think
think
there's some
Salamander is a
decent like
crazy
things
good
here.
draft mon.
Yeah. Like it's got like Tailwind, Intimidate, and a lot of options overall.
Yeah, it could be special
I
or
don't
physical.
I feel like this is a really like solidly like there's a lot of like good physically defensive options here,
Hmm.
but I don't really know I feel like a lot of the mid draft is very much like physically defensive Pokemon that like get to like do that well, but I don't really know if that's as necessary with Salamence bringing up the head of the team.
Yeah.
And I don't really know if this team holds up as well on the special side.
I think it's really
Is
interesting to see dr- dropping your Garchomp, which I would assume was kind of like the head of your draft, right? Like what you wanted to build around. For Salamence, which is like, I mean, it could do a lot, but it leans supportive with like Intimidate.
yeah.
And then you already have an Intimidate user in Harkonine. Not that Harkonine's like that supportive, it typically choice bans. But I mean, it is still an Intimidate mod at the end of the day. So it is
I
interesting to kind of double down on that.
Having Galarian, Weezing, and Superior in the same draft is incredibly funny to
It is
me.
so funny. the the potential of Superior Leaf Storm not doing what Superior Leaf Storm does is crazy. Ability Shield Superior next to Galizing. I'd like to
That
see
would
it.
go crazy.
I would like to see that. I think there's another interesting pick here that we actually didn't talk about. It was drafted in A. I don't remember. I think it was by Hayes. Cyclozar is something we didn't talk about, which is like Shedtail can do crazy stuff. If you like Shedtail into like what Hayes could do is like Shedtail into a Dango and then get like a nasty plot off. I'm not sure what you
Yeah.
bring in on a Shedtail here.
Um, that's a good question, honestly. I think, does Hisuian Arcanine get any good, like, setup moves?
It gets Howl. Um,
I said good setup
Howl is
moves,
actually going to
so
be
no.
interesting. Wait, hold up. It's time. It's time. Howl is an entire archetype in DGC,
Okay.
which when
I don't,
Chomp Harkonine were drafted, that's what I assumed this was.
yeah.
But then the Salamence comes out, and I'm like, oh, I no
Yeah,
longer
I
think.
don't know if Salamence has, like, the power of, like, Garchomp to be able to, like, back that up.
Yeah,
And
I
I
don't think it
don't
does.
think anything else in this draft really takes advantage of that very well. Like certainly not like I'm not really looking at like things like Corviknight or Swampert or Sableye and being like, oh yeah, this will benefit from Howl.
Yeah, I agree. I do think I think like bulk up Corviknight can benefit from a
Yep.
howl. You could go power trip Corviknight, which is a thing people used to do, but you could also just like go bulk up body press Brave Bird, which is strong.
Yeah, I think my biggest issue with this is that it has a lot of like it's got like good like a lot of good support. It's got like multiple tailwind users, a lot of like physical like a couple intimidate users and like fake out support. Does it have good redirection? I don't think this team has
I
redirection.
don't think
That
it
might
has.
be
I
the
don't
other
think it has
knock
any.
against it.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. But the issue is that it doesn't really feel like it's in service to anything. Like
Yeah,
the best the best offensively oriented mons here are like Salamence, Hisuian Arcanine, and Superior, and I don't think that's quite on par with everything else.
yeah. I would have loved to see like instead of just Geezing or even the Superior, I would have loved to see like a Calm Mind Mon, like a bulky Calm Mind Mon that would really appreciate the tailwinds and the intimidates. Where it could take a
Yeah.
couple turns to set up with the intimidate cycling and then have the bulk and then
Yeah,
make up for its speed with the tailwind.
funny enough, I was like a bit harsher towards the melodic and like Dicey's draft, but I feel like I used it.
Interesting. Yeah, no, that would be something interesting here for sure. Um, yeah, I'm not sure. It's interesting. I'm having a similar feeling where I think it's missing something. I'm not sure what. There's like a lot of scary stuff in a vacuum, but I don't necessarily see how it's all working together.
John, do you
Um,
remember when I said you were using interesting like a slur?
yeah, I'm back. I'm back to it. I am back to it.
I I feel like this is definitely um one of the teams I'm interested to see how Psy manages to make it work
Yeah,
because but unfortunately that is because I do not see how to make it work.
I I think disjointed is like a fair assessment of this team, and I think like probably the 5 exchanges. I feel like once you've used 5 exchanges, I feel like I should know what your team wants to do now, and I still don't, which is maybe concerning.
Uh I don't think there's much to discuss here. I think this is an early merge pick.
Unfortunately, yeah, I do think it is. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Sai. Killer logo
Sorry,
though.
Sai, love you,
Great
Sai.
color scheme. Love all of that. All right, we have, I think, objectively, straight up the most interesting draft, and maybe interesting as a slur. I'm sorry. Also, I don't want to mispronounce this. Is it Munchin Sigaliths? Is it Munchin? I feel like that U is not pronounced like a U. I'm not cultured. I'm sorry.
I all I know is that I spent like 5 hours looking for this T-shirt in Snack
Oh, it
Fiber.
is. It is that shirt. Haunting, haunting. The skeletons in our closet.
Anyway,
Um,
let's talk about Leo's team now.
let's. It is. If I'm gonna tab to the cost of these mods real quick. This is such a strange draft strategy I've never seen employed. Everything is mid cost. The most expensive mod is 14, and the least expensive mod is 7. Um, I think
I can't say I've never seen this before, but it's not particularly common. I agree.
it's like I think like honestly, it is a low key gonna be really really hard to prep for this team because he stands to bring any combo of 6, right? Like
Yeah.
if you draft like a 19 or a 20 point mod and you leave it behind, that feels bad, right? Like you're kind of leaving value behind. So it's safe to say someone is bringing their 20 cost. But like
Yeah.
Leo can leave any of these behind and not care. Like
Yeah, I feel like when looking at this, you do have like some reasonable like expectations in that it's I don't think it's particular I feel like something that I would say is that it does feel like things like um Scizor and Mamoswine feel like they're probably more likely to come,
mhm.
and potentially all of like his uh Firewater Grass Core also feels fairly likely to
True,
come
yeah.
here as well. But there is always a possibility, I think, in this team that any of those just don't come here.
Yeah. I will say, I think when you look at some other teams, like, I'm just going to go over to size, I look at this and I'm like, okay, this is like a Nat Dex level team, right? This does look like a regional Dex team, I fear. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
It does look
I
it
definitely
does like a
does.
little bit playthrough core.
That's fair enough. I can see that. I think again the lack of redirection in this one is kind of I don't know if it's as big of a deal in this one because it doesn't feel like there's something that the
That
redirection
wants
super
it.
needs to
Yeah.
support. But then I also don't think I also feel like you probably should have a mon that's good enough that you want to support it. And this one just kind of just has a bunch of things that work on their own.
Yeah, and then
Or
there's like Lilligant with no sun. Um, like Florges with no like real grass types to support it with its niche weird thing that it does. Um, I guess like I don't fully see I don't fully see what helps what. I guess like
I also feel like I also feel like this team doesn't really have that much speed control, and the base speeds of everything are pretty middling.
I think that's like a honestly a big issue. I Mandibuzz is like a tailwind setter, but then it's like,
I
what does
mean, the only thing
Mandibuzz
you really
do when it
have
gets its tailwind up?
are like Mandibuzz for like setting Tailwind, and the only like thing that's fast outside of that is like Cinderace, which doesn't have as much of an impact as it would like to.
Exactly. And then if you go like a Trick Room mode, but I think there's a couple mons who get Trick Room here. I know Metachan gets it, but like, what do you do in it, right? Like, I guess I'm not sure here what really loves. Like, you could go like a Choice Spec Dragalge, but like, doesn't get any great spread moves. It it gets adaptability, which is great, but like it, I just typically find that like Poison Dragon as adaptability stab is not hitting what you need to hit in a Trick Room setting where you need to like be killing one mon per turn for that value.
Yeah, I think that's just an issue in that like it's an adaptability thing that's way too easily resisted to
Yeah,
be like good at that, and that like anything with a steal is going
yeah,
to like
singular steel type.
cause it problems.
Yeah,
I mean, like it does have like coverage for steel, but then you're not proccing adaptability, and then why are you using Dragalge?
yeah, because I think if I remember correctly, special attack is like nothing to write home about without adaptability. Um,
Maybe when I think it's oh, it is a lot worse than I thought.
it's pretty.
I mixed
It's
up
pretty.
in special attack and
Is it
special
like 80, 80, 90?
97.
Yeah, it's not great.
Maybe when Mega Dragalge releases to the wider public,
When it gets
while half
corrosion,
signs in here.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think I think it.
I mean, here's the thing: if it gets corrosion, then it doesn't have adaptability. So.
Very true. I do think this joins its circular logo, which I guess we have bias. I don't know. What are you thinking?
I Yeah, I'm not too big on this draft. I think it's just kind of. It also feels disjointed, but like in a different way than Size Team, but it's still disjointed, I think.
I think it's disjointed with less individual threats. Um,
Yeah.
which these aren't ordered within tiers, so don't think about
Yeah.
anything about that. So it's interesting. I think it absolutely has an X factor in the sense that I don't know what any of these bonds are doing in closed team sheets for the most part. I don't know what you're bringing. Like I think there is a level of unexpectedness here, but I do think it's probably just gonna get stat checked. Like it's gonna get threat checked by a lot of stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, the final draft. The Sunder Rays crack smoking superstars. Um, captained by Sunder.
If
I'll let you kick
if
this
this
one
was
off.
a I'll say outright, if this was a uh if this podcast was based on like ranking the team names, this one wins.
Yeah, this is S tier for Sunder tier, 100%. If this is team name based,
Yeah, unfortunately, that's it's not that, and we have to look at the team itself.
we do. We have to look at the Mons, and I do have to look at
I think
Garganackle and Carbonal, which are both uh, abominations.
I definitely feel like this is very like it feels trick roomy, but I don't entirely know if these are the best things you could get for trick room. Really, like Hydrapple, Crabominable, and Garganackle. I don't really know. I feel like there are definitely better things you could pick to like support like fur giraffe
Mhm.
and or like to have fur giraffe support. I mean, I guess. I mean, I think I do think like belly drum Azumarill is low
Mhm.
key like solid here potentially,
I agree.
like with fur giraffe support and like trick room, but I don't know about some of the mid draft picks.
I think it's Tail Room, which is cool because you have the Trick Room mode, but then you have the 2 Wind Rider Pokemon. I do actually think Kilowattrel is like really strong, and it really picked up in usage at the end of Reg H. And I believe that this board was made before the rise of Kilowattrel. So I actually think Kilowattrel is kind of a steal in this draft. Which is then countered by the fact that I think Garganacl is way too expensive.
It
Garganacl
is.
doesn't be doing anything in VGC that I've seen ever. Like
It should not be 12 points. Like
no.
that is very much just like a slow Pokemon with like decent defenses, but it's a rock type and it doesn't really have the power to compensate, so I don't really know what it's doing here.
Yeah. I think Yanma is honestly one of the best one picks there is, or one cost picks. So I do really like to see that. It has a lot that it can do. It gets speed boost, so you can like protect speed boost and then get a tailwind up. It gets compound eyes hypnosis, which is pretty cool. And then like I do think that's cool to like back it with 2 Wind Rider mons. I think a big issue with this team is that we are in a closed team sheets but best of 3 format, and I feel like I expect some cheese and I expect it to win a lot of game ones because of like what's happening, but I feel like most players are probably gonna be able to adjust a game plan.
I again, flaw with this team is that the lack of fake out and lack of redirection is killer.
Which I
it
think
does have decent.
Go ahead.
Funny enough, I think it does have a lot of like good like speed control between like Electro Web, like Kilowattrel, and like Icy Wind and like Tailwind, which is really funny when this is a team with Trick Room for a Giraffe.
Yeah.
As like a base game plan.
Yeah.
But I do think that is solid, and it does let it like play outside of having to set Trick Room. Like you could go Tailwind, you could like still use like things like I think Hydrapple is like not terrible here. I think like Arcanine, Azumarill, and like Hydrapple or Rabogast is like decent. It's not nothing outstanding, but I think it does the job well enough, especially given the potential for Trick Room.
Mm-hmm.
But I just feel like there's a little like some of these points could have been allocated a good bit better, especially with like Garganacl here.
Yeah.
Which I feel like it's just a big point thing.
I absolutely agree. I think like Azumarill is actually like such a like sleeper draft pick here for me in the sense that like it's so threatening, right? Like you let it get a belly drum off and it's so scary. But playing around Azumarill or Trick Room with Photograph without fake out, a single fake out or redirection feels like it completely. It means I don't have to respect it anymore. Like
something Amoonguss would go hard here for like the 10th time.
Sinistra, or like even its Sinistee is so good here. Amoonguss would be incredible. This team could have taken Incineroar. Like,
I mean, it has Arcanine, so I feel like you probably could have just taken Incineroar.
I like honestly a draft that opened with like instant Farig Azumarill. Like that's pretty scary. That's pretty horrifying. I guess I don't necessarily know what Arcanine brings to this specific type of
I
team.
think like cutting Arcanine for Incin and like some of the midpoint picks or Garganac or one of like the midpoint like Grassmons and Garganacl for like Amoonguss would do a lot for this game.
Yeah, I agree. I think Azumarill Photograph is such a cool starting point, and I think the Tailwind mode is such a cool backup to it. But I do kind of think that Hydrapple, Garganacl are just kind of a point sink that could have definitely been allocated a lot better, I think. I am not putting cheese and like I will never put like ingenuity past Sunder. I guarantee you he's going to come up with stuff that I would have not expected him to do, and he will win some games and maybe some sets because of it. I think a noticeable point to this to me, and it is crazy that it immediately comes to light in week 1, is I think a lot of the like 2019 power picks the 2019, not the year. I mean the 20 cost and the 19 cost power picks. Like, what does it do? What does this do into our Chalodon? Ever? Like, it salt cures it, I guess? Like, that's not particularly reliable.
Yeah.
So I think it might get stat checked, is what I worry about. Where do we put Sunder Ray's crack smoking superstars on this?
I think this one narrowly dodges early merge boot for me. I would put it in let them cook. Like,
Okay.
it's close, but I would put it in let them cook.
I think I agree. Now the question is now that we've seen this, do we reallocate? Do we think the New Orleans Noivers managed to break into Queenly Queerly even, or do we think these people are on a league above?
I would say, I think it depends because I definitely feel like a lot of the things we put in, like from like draft league or from draft board A, are definitely that the ones that ended up in let them cook are definitely better than some of the things in draft board B that we put in let them cook.
I agree. I think we leave it for now. This was purely first impressions based. If we did B first and then A, maybe this is a little different, but
Yeah.
take it with a grain of salt. We graded on a curve.
Yeah.
And it's just
I
purely
think
first impressions.
the way I see it is that, like, if there's like this macro shift where we put some of the things in A, or from A up to 8 minimal crumbs, like the borderline ones, then I think like that tier is saturated enough to where I can justify putting the Nola Noivers up into top tier because it's very, very close. But I don't think it's like on the same caliber as those teams. But I definitely think it's better than the other two teams in 8 minimal crumbs.
Yeah, I think there could, in theory, be like a mid tier here, but we
Yeah.
don't have to get into all that.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, we don't
We-
have enough time for that.
No, this
We
was
don't get
vibes
paid
based.
for this.
I think it's cool that we ended up picking one Queenly Queerly even from both drafts. So do with that as you will. Do you have any closing thoughts? Looking back at these teams and these drafts.
I'm just excited to see the games, honestly.
Me too. I'm very, very excited. I think we're gonna get a lot played this weekend. So there will be many a replay for us to watch, many a statistic for us to look at. Maybe we'll pull in some guests for episode 1. This was episode 0, so maybe week 1 recaps we'll get some guests. I know Teresa has statistics that she wants to talk about, so we have much to look forward to. But for now, I think that's everything. So thank you all for anyone who sat through what I believe was maybe 2 hours.
I think that was 2 hours.
I think that was 2 hours of us yapping. So when I upload this, I'll try to timestamp it so people can skip around. Thank you, Carl. Thank you, anyone who listened. And good luck in everyone's games. Say goodbye, Carl.
Goodbye. Thanks for having me, Sean.
Anytime.